I was born in Melbourne. I was raised in Canada for the most part. I got into League of Legends because some of my friends that were playing an MMORPG called Aeon wanted to play League of Legends at the time, so I just joined them on it. And when I started watching Hotshot GG, I watched him for like a year straight, and watching him made me really excited for the pro scene. And after that, I wanted to be a part of it. So I climbed as high as I could for the ladder, and around 2011, I had 2 offers, one to play in Australia and one to play in Canada. My pro player career started really great with me, Rusty, Estonia, Jindenwo, and Dale Never Fails. We went to Korea together, and that was really fun. We did that through WCG, and we won the Australian qualifiers. After that, it was a bit of up and down, but mostly down. While I felt that I was a good player individually, I wasn't the teammate that all my teammates needed. I was a very negative player, I was a very negative teammate. I made atmospheres worse than they would have been without me, and a lot of teams, while I could have improved a lot of teams and I could have been on a really good team, I hindered myself a lot in my first several years of playing. For me, coaching was kind of the next step. I was spending a lot of time as a player trying to tell people what they should do, both in the game and out of the game. And as a player, I was always disappointed with a lot of the coaches in Oceania. I always felt that despite my attempts of trying to get one for my teams whenever I had a team or made a team, it was always hard to find someone that anyone was happy with. And I decided I could just be that person. So that was the main reason that I started to do it, because I felt that there was a gap there, and it was a gap that I would be pretty good at filling.
Oh, hey. High quality. I'm Denian. It's my legacy, bitch. Wait, what?
This is my 3rd split of coaching. Overall, I'm really happy with what I've been doing so far. And I think I made a lot of progress, both on a personal level and how I am as a person, but also how I am as a coach. This is always a lot for me to learn. It's completely different game that I'm trying to figure out in regards to coaching.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
I didn't know what to say, so I'm just saying hi.
Howdy, how are you?
Howdy.
Oh!
Oh!
Get swept, get swept, get swept!
Oh.
Swept.
Right,
Wait,
right.
hold there.
There's a 3-man everything.
Oh my god.
Not really, I can't deal with you. Coach House, you're like the king of egos.
Let's go games.
Alright boys, good luck. Make sure you're focused on stage. If you have a pink, please put it down on the ground. Make sure that you open up the lane for Jesse this game. I think that's really important. Speed doubles again, yeah?
Yeah.
Take us on 3. 1, 2, 3!
Let's
What I always wanted to do as a coach was be able to do like cheesy shit and just throw the other team off balance and like prepare an entire week for a specific strategy. Even now, the only teams I've ever had are teams that need to learn the basics first. So the first step is always learn the basics, get to a good understanding of the game, and then you can start dedicating time towards strictly winning games.
Kais is dead, Kais is dead! End mid. Yeah, we can go mid. Don't change your sign. Just end the game, I'm gonna rise port. Rise port. Okay, go for it. I'll kill that down. Just ignore him. We have to keep ignoring. We have to keep going. Just full commit. End. Let's go! Let's go! So hard. Nice.
It's crazy, dude.
What?
No, that's dope.
That's crazy. Show that.
Show dubs.
Chaz, can you stop snaking what you do?
Sorry, bro.
Daniel's been super helpful with the transition from AD carry to support just because he's done it before. So he can offer me like tips or like useful advice that I feel like not many other people would be able to. So he's got a unique perspective on it, which really helps.
Daniel knows what he wants, and that's definitely helped us move into a direction that all 5 of us, including him, are on the same page.
I don't think I'm really here to stop them from making mistakes. I think a big thing of what I'm here for is teaching them the right things to do. And mistakes are always going to happen, and I don't want them to feel bad about it, because I think that's when you start getting to the games where you do a mistake and you don't come back. I think they've been doing really well despite the situations they got themselves into. And I think part of that is because they're not afraid that if they do make a mistake, that the game's going to be over. They're thinking, we think this is the right thing, let's just do this. And if it doesn't pan out, they'll try another thing. I always had coaches or players tell me, oh, you should do this because a professional team somewhere else did it. I didn't like that. The best players and the best teams always focus on how they can get the most out of themselves. So as a coach, it is my job and my philosophy to try to accentuate the players that you already have in the strengths that they already have. It takes a lot of getting to know them and working around their weaknesses, but I think that's a lot more impactful than trying to have them adapt to a play style that isn't theirs. My style as a coach, I think I'm changing it as time goes on, as I'm figuring out how to do it best, but it's very much about player-driven philosophy and player-driven ideology. If they're not happy about what's happening, then I feel like they're just going to play worse and do worse. My name is James Denian Goddard, and this is my legacy.
This is full-time. Like, no matter what you want to do with it, if you want to be really, really good, it's full-time. You don't have to be playing full-time, but you're always thinking about the game. Like, I wake up and I'm showering, thinking about League of Legends. I'm eating, thinking about League of Legends. Having a coffee, thinking about League of Legends. No matter what I'm doing, it's always like, how can I maximize like what I learned today? And yeah, I think if everyone is in that mindset, it's like a very, very helpful one. Once you get to like a higher sort of ELO rating, as like an amateur player, you kind of get there from being good at clicking buttons or decent at clicking buttons. And once you start popping into games with pros that you've been watching, like from OPL, like for me it was Swiffer and Spooks. So yeah, I used to watch them and be like, wow, imagine if I got to play with them one day, and obviously here I am now. The first thing I sort of wanted to find out was like, was this something I wanted to do? In the sense that like I asked them about the lifestyle. Was it something, could I play games 24 hours a day? I didn't know if it was something I could do. Obviously it's not like that, but. And then after that, it was just kind of looking for any sort of like competitions I could join up to. I ended up talking to a few teams about being a sub. A few people have been like really sort of surprised, I guess, with like a rookie with a decent work ethic. And yeah, I think people were quite excited to at least like see me progress, whether they wanted to be involved with it or not. And then obviously I got picked up to play on Sin. I probably wasn't ready in hindsight to be in that full-time lifestyle. Like, emotional maturity and just, all that stuff combined is really, really tough. But yeah, there's another stepping stone to, back to OCS and now here.
What are your takes on Dream? Young man, took himself to Korea. You said he also hung out in your house a little bit?
Yep, he was close friends with Lost. This is a guy who is desperate to get better. He came to our house, he stayed with us for a little bit just to work with Lost and hopefully improve. Sent himself to Korea, like I said, on his own dime, trying to improve. He spent a lot of time at the Chief House as well, training with them. This is a guy who has a fantastic attitude towards improvement, and I think eventually he will make something of himself.
And I think that he's also got better. I mean, we saw against teams like Order, he was able to buffer those jumps. He's playing on the knife's edge. He's trying to take that step. And I certainly think for a young man, 17 years of age, he's got leadership quality, which you don't see in every player. Makes me excited for him. Yeah, I really wanted to go to Korea for a while, probably from about like year 10. And I tried to get a job, which I ended up getting. I'd seen a few documentaries on esports, specifically League of Legends in Korea. And just looking at like the internet cafes and just the way that they trained and lived was like really foreign to me. Definitely not the same grindy culture that I'm now sort of
semi-immersed in. And yeah, no, I thought if I just threw myself there and improved enough in like the high intensity environment, then like people would have to start taking notice. Like a kid that isn't, you know, well sort of known in the community, just goes to Korea and does decently or does alright, like, you know, people start turning heads eventually. So probably the most important things, like characteristics and attributes of like a person that wants to chase it. Regardless of skill level, I think being able to think very critically and be open-minded is like probably the hardest part. Because a lot of the times you will think you're correct and you could be, but again, like I said, there's so many correct ways to play the game that you need to understand where other people are coming from and always like be able to consider and change your mind depending on what, you know, what's best for you and your team. I think like resilience, I guess. I mean, it sounds very, very cliche and probably a lot of the things that most sort of work fields would say, oh, this is important. But I think it's very, very important in esports especially and League of Legends because, yeah, there's going to be times where like you're going to lose a lot of games in a row and you're going to lose games that you shouldn't lose. And you're going to be practicing like as hard as you can. Like you're going to be working really, really hard and things aren't going to be going your way. And unfortunately, you can't just say, oh, okay, this sucks. Like I'm just going to go home now and chill. When you're playing on a team with 4 other players that are, you know, committed to developing with you, it's like you really have to trust each other in and out of game. You know, if someone makes a call in game to do something, you have to like really, really commit to it. Because if you don't and it happens on game day, it's like, it's hard to have the best possible outcome for the call. Even though it could be incorrect, there are so many correct ways to play League of Legends that, you know, you just have to all be on the same page and really hope for the best. I think that's something I've struggled on from not really like trusting people, I guess, in solo queue to make the correct play, and then seeing something that I might see in solo queue, but they might know something that I might not. My favorite memory from pursuing League would probably be like both Korean boot camps that I've been on. Because I think it brought out like the worst and the best in me. I think when I was there recently for 3 months, and 2 of those months I was by myself in like a super small place, like just playing on a desk, like non-stop. Like it was pretty bad. I learned a lot of things like about myself and like the way that I need to like think and act to get better and better and better. But then once I ended up joining Order, it was 2 months of like awful, it was really, really hard. And then, you know, I moved to a hotel, which is obviously a huge, huge step up. And then, you know, hang out with all my new teammates. And it was really, really good. You know, being in that high stress environment with other people that you can joke around with and stuff. I think that was the most rewarding for sure. I think I definitely had like thoughts of like, oh, like this is what all my friends are doing. I sort of see them all at, you know, uni parties or whatever, or most of them. And I'm like, oh, you know, that could have been me. But at the same time, it's like, if I want to go back and study, like I can. If I want to, in 20 years go, oh, I should have, you know, chased this because it was something I was really passionate about, like I can't do that in 20 years. So I'm just taking the 100% option, just chasing it all I have the time, and we'll sort whatever happens out after that.
Shut down! Lloyd's alive, he's burning up! Claire, that was beautiful! They needed a miracle, he gave them everything and more. And that's the double kill for the bait! Baby, they clean up! He goes gold, the Baron getting low, stolen away again. Oh, what a flash there from Giraffe. Aatrox finds one, pumps the world, and a triple kill. The Nexus is under fire, and everybody falls.
Amazing play right there, and there we have it. These high school students from Melbourne have just dominated.
And for the high school League of Legends AUNZ Championship will be Rangitoto College from New Zealand.
Hello, welcome to day 2 of week 7, split 1 of the 2019 OPL. I'm Nick Boy Richardson. I am very happy to be here, and I am joined by my 2 best friends on the couch, who are on the couch right now. It is Ejim and Spawn.
I got spawned.
You did.
Hey.
You got spawned. I mean, I can't control what comes out of my
actually.
mouth, which is very clear. And you got Egypt,
mixing
you're
it
normally
up.
Bryce.
I feel like a select few people, like around us, call me Ejim, but you definitely call me Bryce. But that's all right. Look, cool.
Who calls you Ejim?
Richard Chow, producer.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he calls me Ejim.
And your mum?
No. Ironically, it has happened. When she's talking shit, she's like, "Yeah, called me Ejim before."
Because your dad texts you about League of Legends.
Yeah, my dad probably played I watch a lot more League of Legends than I play nowadays.
Yep.
He genuinely plays more than I do.
Really?
I'm impressed.
How
He's
have you
watching
taken
right
this
now, I
transition
assume.
to being a watcher?
He's a grinder. Look, playing is a lot more fun than watching.
Isn't it though?
Yeah, it is.
So much more enjoyable.
Yeah,
and then because you have limited time to play,
your games mean so much more.
or you just play like what you really want to play. Like if you only have 2 games and you're like, I want to get a random support in, like
Bard.
I want a Bard game. Even if you need the Alistar or the Galio, you're still playing the Bard game. You turn into your worst nightmare, me.
Yeah. I mean, you're all of our worst nightmare. Bryce's dad, if you're watching, let us know what you're playing tonight. Also, happy Mardi Gras weekend to everybody.
Hey.
It's on in Sydney. Therefore, the traffic is a nightmare getting here and out.
Well,
So
they
we're trapped
actually
here
give you
for the evening.
notifications.
They do.
So, like, heads up to all the smartphones out there because I woke up to like 3 notifications. Like, this is what your day's going to look like.
What did you
And I was
used to
like,
have?
I used to have a very, very good Samsung Galaxy.
And now you've got a Google phone, and it's
and
so
and how
great.
did you get that phone?
Oh,
Very
yeah,
nice.
no worries, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, charity case. I am. Bryce gave it to me.
Look,
I'll call it out.
Jake simultaneously is getting handouts from friends, but then calls people that take the train the great unwashed. And it's just like his whole world is crumbling
I
down
am in some
upon him.
difficult financial times. I just bought a house. Like
true.
the
Oh,
baby
we flexed,
boomers
alright.
have really made it difficult to buy houses and still have leftover money.
That's very true. Bryce's dad, you're a monster. All right, it is time to get on with the evening. Before we do, though, a reminder that if you want to do competitive League of Legends in something more than solo queue, but something less than the OPL, we have a happy middle ground for you, and it's called the High School League and the Uni League Club.
Yeah.
Uni League.
And if you're like
Uni
45,
club?
just
Uni
go
games?
back to high
Uni
school.
games? Just go back to high school. Yeah, you've all seen Bryce. You've definitely seen Never Been Kissed.
No.
All right, so let me break, because here's the thing. Bryce doesn't watch movies, and I assume most of you out there, 17 years old, except for Bryce's dad, you don't know what I'm talking about anyway. Never Been Kissed, Drew Barrymore. She's a journalist. She goes back to high school to see what it's like being a high school student. She's like 29, and then pretends to be 18.
Yeah,
and then
real casually.
Yeah.
That's really normal.
I mean, it's a pretty bad movie. I don't know
Isn't
why I
it
brought
like
it
21 Jump Street? That's like pretty much
Yeah.
the exact same.
I mean,
they were cops.
Any movie, film, TV show that's like high school, like every single person is 25 and up.
That's true.
And it's just like they dress real nice, but that's just not the case.
And this one just wasn't pretending about it. All right, everyone, go watch Never Been Kissed. But before you do, we have a game or 2 tonight.
Or 4.
Or 4. What? Oh, my God. We're going to be here all evening. Let's take a look at the games on the list for the evening. First up, we have a graphic that will appear here.
It's Gravitas versus Bombers.
What else you got?
Order versus
There you go. Order versus Direwolves. Game number 3. Avant versus Mammoth. And we round out the evening, Legacy versus Chiefs.
OPL Classico.
It's
Game
back.
number 4. Yeah.
It's like, it only feels like it was 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We have Chiefs in back-to-back weeks. I think we played them yesterday and we play them next week again. Like, it really is a crazy schedule. And I think, like, as an overall, today's really important because we actually will have a team that goes winless in the second round robin. Both Order and Direwolves are yet to win a game in the second round robin. There are only 7 games. They're both 0-6. They are playing each other. One of them must win because neither of these teams look like they can destroy a Nexus. But I guarantee you it's going to happen today in game number 2.
Yeah.
So really, I would call it right now. Like if Order doesn't win this game, their season's over. Like I don't know how you recover from going 0-7 in the second round robin.
And the thing is, it's a situation where it always feels like Order have the potential to totally take it. You know, there are other teams, like with Legacy, I could see the building strategy. With Direwolves, I could see the building strategy. With Order, it feels like the strategy was there, and I'm always like, oh, you guys have got it. And then you know, the last run, haven't quite got it.
Their mid game is just terrible.
Yeah.
Like when you look at Order's early game, I would say it's actually one of the more solid early games. You know, they're very good at splitting the map. They have been picking up solo kills or duo kills in the bottom lane at the moment. And then yesterday, like Swiffer got killed in the mid lane, and that was a disaster. But it was a dragon fight,
where Order just went for, this 13-minute dragon fight again, and like all fell apart. And I think that actually Direwolves are one of the teams that have a pretty good mid-game. They definitely play like really linear towards their game plan, and I think that provides a lot of structure to them. So there's a potential for a massive upset today.
Yeah, because I think to liken this conversation to the first game of the day, Gravitas are similar in that respect, where like you have seen very good pieces and very bad pieces. On the flip side of the coin, like Bombers are looking like they're almost undefeated, right? They've lost a single game, but they have potentially like the most consistency.
Yep.
It's very easy to like win games when you're ahead all the time, and they do get themselves in that position. But like across the board, they are just very consistent, whether it's early, mid, late. Like across the board, just very good.
What I will say though is there's a couple of players on Gravitas that I really want to call out that like try and hold the glue together very well, and I think it is going to be Decoy as well as Praelus. I think that the games that have started to fall apart in the mid game, because I think Gravitas and Order are very similar. They have very good early games as well, but they kind of peg it back and they'll like get Harry a kill just against the flow of play, or they'll set up some good vision line, and that kind of shores up their mid-game faults. And then once they do get to the latter stages of the 30-minute mark where Baron is a real option, then their game plan does start to come back online. So I think they're using their tools a little bit better to deal with the deficiencies in their game plan. It's just whether they can do that against a lineup like the Bombers.
All right, well, we're going to see that in the first game. Let's see who we tipped for this series as well. There it is. There it is.
That is the boringest day of tips ever.
I mean, again, we've spoken about this. The spicy tips, it's a failure. It's no longer spicy. But you don't tip. Maybe we should tip to lose. That would make things more interesting. Would it? No, it would just be the exact opposite. No, it would just flip. All right, so again, it all hinges on two games.
The point is we all have like similar opinions, so even if we tip to lose, then we're going to be losing like the same degree that we're winning together.
Okay, well, how about next week?
No, but the thing is, we're just all too short-sighted. So what we need is an ultimate punishment at the end. So the people that are behind need to start like taking riskier tips to catch up.
Yeah.
Because we're doing this to avoid a lemon.
Yeah.
But if at the end of the day, like we have to, I don't know, like
put the lemon in the other end.
Potentially, then all of a sudden I'm going to start taking some risks because I'm currently 2 points off the leaderboard, and I'll eat a lemon any day. But the other end is not so promising.
You freak!
What? I'm just saying that's something that none of us want to do.
Oh my
goodness. I've totally derailed my train of thought.
Back to the laptop.
With the spicy tips, I think we should start doing a fantasy league. That's what I think we should do. We should all pick players, put them together as some sort of super team. There's a scoring system that someone in the building will figure out. It's not me. And then we'll see who all wins at the end of the year.
You really like fantasy sports.
I love fantasy sports so much. Oh my God. It's half my life.
When Fantasy LCS first came out, once again, derailing the segment, I assume there is a game at some point that needs to start. But when Fantasy LCS first came out, it was a banger. Like, they didn't improve it at all, but like that first season was glorious.
I didn't partake.
Well, let's fix that for split number 2 this year. We're going to throw to the game now. A quick reminder, Pabu is our POV.
Top day.
It's top day.
Pabu!
We're going to follow top lane all evening. So if you go to our Twitter, twitter.com/OPL, you can follow there. And also send in your questions because we're doing a round of
Nick Box.
Put lemons in my box. And send your questions into asknickboy@gmail.com. Sorry, Bryce's dad. And then we'll pick the best ones. We'll answer them in the last seg of the day. All right, it's time for game number 1. Let's throw it over to your desk with your lemon boys. Rusty, Pyro.
I don't feel very comfortable with these lemons on the desk anymore.
When life gives you lemons, put them in Nick's box.
That's exactly how it works. And we'll see how this game works as well, because it's Gravitas versus Bombers. Bombers are the de facto giants of the OPL right now. They have not lost a game since week 2.
Yep.
They're on track for a 7-0 in the second round robin here in Gravitas. They have been bouncing back. Yesterday, it was all the way to the end, though. That game was nearly lost, and then Pabu rejoins the team. They take the Baron fight, and they take out Legacy. And now they face the final boss once again.
We even heard from the interview with Raid. It's like it took us like 10 minutes to work out what we should be doing. Leaving Pabu in that side lane was a bit of a mistake from our end, and we understand that. But if they try and group today, if they try and bring Pabu into the fray to actually get the team fights, get the Barons, they're against Mimic, who has been playing the AP cannon, had the sick flank plays, has amazing teleports as well, good communication with the rest of his team. I wonder how they'll choose to draft this one out, Gravitas. And what do they have to contest a team like the Bombers, who, as you mentioned, are basically indomitable right now? They're unstoppable.
Yeah, I think that's the tricky part, is not only are Bombers such a solid team, but they've shown to do it on a variety of champions. You look at even the newest player, Balkan, has an absolute champion Ocean. I was interviewing yesterday Ryoma about him, and he just said, look, the guy can play anything. He can play absolutely every champion, so there's no point in banning him out. They're going to try Gravitas by banning at least one of the more terrifying Balkan champions. The Kha'Zix is off the board. Now Kindred is going to match. Let's see what Gravitas take first here. It's going to be an insta-lock on the Yasuo.
Yeah, the Yasuo is going to be locked away. Now, in a lot of other regions, you would expect things like the Jace to actually be seen here. It's been a replacement for Urgot more often than not. But that hasn't been seen in our little old region of Oceania anytime currently. Yasuo does seem to be gradually rising more and more in the pick ban priority. Has always been seen as a strong champion, but hasn't always been seen as a must-first pick type of champion. Usually you want to get the setup, get the draft there for it, and then lock the Yasuo in. But if you can play it in multiple positions, it's a big thing that you can take away from that, and that could be a supplementary pick instead of the Jace with the ability to flex.
That's true, and we've seen it flex into the AD carry position as well. You know, it's possible it ends up being in the top side, which would be great for the POV stream for sure, looking at Pabu into Mimic, but Mimic is also a very terrifying player. Can't wait to see what he grabs, but Bombers will start by rounding out their bottom lane. So good old Lucian-Alistar combo.
Yeah, so one, they pick the Lucian. Strong AD carry champion outright, does a lot of work. The Q can go through the wind wall, so that's nice. Light does go through walls of wind. The Alistar is a takeaway from the Yasuo, however, to get rid of the bot lane Yasuo-Alistar 2v2. So the Bombers half pick for themselves, half pick to deny from their opponents, and now we get to see where, of course, if this is locked in, the Yasuo may be going, and it's proof that it's not the bottom lane right now. And maybe you just go for something like the Ez Braum and play your weak side.
They might just do that. The extra knockup from the Braum would synergize with the Yasuo in the composition. I'm wondering if they don't want to go for a jungle choice here for Praelis, though, and pick up the Sejuani that's been known to combo well.
That's true. There are a bunch of options available for the jungle role. Things that can work with a Yasuo if it goes mid or top lane is the Gragas, the Lee Sin are two staple old-school picks. Guaranteed kills basically at level 6 with that combo. And, of course, it's not going to be the Braum. It'll be the Galio this time around. Still a good pick into the Alistar. Though I would say Ali enjoys being able to headbutt you away when you try and taunt.
That's a fair point. See how Bombers end up responding to that with the bottom lanes all locked away. Where do they go next? Is it going to be mid or top pick? This is more flexibility from the Bombers side as the timer ticks down for them.
The hover of the Zed is a little bit comical, but at the same time, if there's ever a matchup you want to play into Yasuo, I personally like the Zed side of it.
That's a good old matchup.
Entirely a skill matchup.
It's fantastic. Ninja versus Samurai action. The Nocturne is banned away in the second round as it was hovered by Gravitas. Has been a fairly successful champion in the OPL this split when it's made an appearance. It's been frustrating defenses.
Big smirk on Praelis' face there as well. Maybe Nocturne wasn't something that was on the list for them as a champion.
Mind games, eh?
Or they're thinking towards the future, things they want to take away from the Bombers, and something funny just came up in comms. You never know. Jovial bunch with Juves behind them, no less.
It's true. Gravitas really have been a pretty interesting squad. It's a new esports organization that had come into the OPL, and just seeing them really develop and kind of sitting still around the middle of the pack at the moment. I think there's a lot of room for growth. Jarvan gets banned away now. Yeah,
Jarvan, one of the other knock-up champions, complementary to that of the Yasuo, of course. With the Galio already on the board, the Jarvan is banned more so to remove that combo, however. So that would have been like the Exodia comp for Gravitas secured. And once again, Bombers, it may just be a hover. Rek'Sai is also available, but the Lee Sin could be denied if they choose to, especially with the Evelynn gone and a whole host of junglers honestly removed from the board.
There are, but one thing I've known watching this man on the Bombers side of the jungle, Balkan, is just so good at just about everything. And with Rek'Sai back in vogue here on patch 9.4, they will let it run down to the wire, but end up picking Rek'Sai anyways.
Yeah, they pick up the Void Burrower. The Land Shark locked in here for Bombers. Now, Alistar will be something that helps a whole lot with their composition. Does give them some form of primary engage tool. Of course, it does need the Flash or the Hex Flash to make that one happen. So that's where I'd expect to see Rogue go with his runes at the very least. Have that Hex Flash there. He's the playmaker. Rek'Sai is more that single target damage force. And Vladimir is the one who'll be similar to the cannon that we've seen from Mimic in the past. Getting the big Flash flanks off. And that's their team fight sorted now, Bombers, in that regard. Lots of damage. We'll see how they round it out, because it may just be denial for from their opponents as that last pick.
Yeah, it's a lot of frontline here for Gravitas as they take the Scion. That should be the top matchup. Possible we do see it flex about a little bit, but still some time to decide. Last pick coming in here. We'll expect to see the Gravitas jungle, and since Sejuani made it through, makes perfect sense. that we'd add that one in, but it is a beefy front line with only a handful of damage dealers.
Yeah, it's a lot of tanks and a lot of reliance now on an Ezreal and a Yasuo to get damage done. If Mimic's champion is the one that's left, you could expect a tank that stacks armor. For Ryoma in the middle lane, never mind, he's going to go for the cannon route. Yeah, I was expecting that Ryoma may consider the Vladimir, depending on the matchups, of course, that he gets for himself. Mimic, of course, seeing a Scion, Bombers being on red side. Why would you not go for the free Kleptomancer user in the top lane? Just generate insane amounts of income and just hard win the team fights with a Kennen Vladimir combo. You place the Hema Plague down, amplifies magic damage. You amp the magic damage of a cannon that's going AP, just slicing it up. It doesn't matter if you tanks at that stage, because what can your carries do in that whole area of effect that is just being obliterated?
And this is a very Bombers composition. It's pretty much to a signature T what they like to do against enemy teams. Like you just described it, flanking around, getting into the back, and just deleting everyone before they can make it happen. Now, Gravitas are very tanky. They could possibly weather the storm, but the question remains, will they be able to protect the few carries that they do have? It looks like as the timer ticks down, we will have Harry rocking the Yasuo.
Probably just washed his hands with water.
Yes, he did. Well, I mean, what would he wash his hands with besides?
Well, I wouldn't go to a keyboard, wash my hands with water and then start the game, because you have wet fingers.
Well, maybe he shook him off a little bit. You didn't see?
He is a Taylor Swift fan. He'd be prone to shaking it off here and there.
Oh, I love it. Great job, Rusty. This is going to be an interesting game for sure. Definitely a bit of a David versus Goliath story, and to talk a little bit more about it, we are joined by Juves. Welcome to the desk.
Thanks for welcoming me. How are you?
Good, I'm good. Well, I thought I was doing the interview. Wow. Very polite of you.
Yeah, I like to be polite. I like you guys, so I'll be polite.
Just happy to have Juves here.
Yeah.
It's always good. He's always a happy, jovial individual, and I think yesterday there was definitely a lot to look at the Gravitas game and think, okay, there's a lot to work on here. Can you tell me a little bit about what the conversations were like after that game yesterday?
I was thinking it was like one of those scenarios where the boys knew what to do. They just, it's a stage game, and sometimes the nerves can get the better of you, and then you don't do it. So I think the conversation was just surrounding like trusting yourselves, trusting the knowledge that you have, and executing on it, because again, like I know watching it, they knew what to do to close that game out very quickly. It's just that they kind of felt the pressure, I guess, to like win that game and let it get to them. We were like the favorites to win that. I think this game will be a little bit different because there's literally no pressure on us to win this game. So you play with a lot more freedom, and your decisions come a lot quicker and more instant.
Yeah, and that's a mentality that you'd be very much familiar with, Juves, yourself, loving the underdog stories.
Yes.
So I do have to ask as well, last time Gravitas played one of the top dog teams, there was a big yell backstage from you. You had a video on social media. Was there any big pep talks from you today, or was it more the calm, collected, just tell them how it is style?
There was definitely a pep talk, and it was, I was telling them like, what? I'm not going to give too much away about my pep talks, I'll say that much. But it was a bit of a pump up. We did listen to a few songs together, and we got the blood flowing. We did move around. We had a little bit of a dance. So there was I didn't yell at them, because I didn't think it was necessary this week, but we did get the blood flowing.
That's the way.
Whatever you got to do.
It's so vague, but it's still so good.
It's so vague, but I leave it open to interpretation. Now everyone's thinking about their own different scenarios about what happens pre-game.
Okay, so that's the psychological aspect, obviously, that you're pretty big on. Well, hang on just a second as FBI getting chunked a bit.
I'll take that.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll take that.
Let's talk a little bit about what you guys ended up drafting. You have a very tank-heavy composition here, and are you concerned at all that if either Raid or Harry dies early in a fight, that you guys won't have enough damage to win those fights ensuing?
I think like early game, Scion's damage is kind of underrated. So like, yes, we don't do as much damage at 60 minutes with them dead, but I think in like the early to mid game, if there is a fight, like you can't understate the Sedge Scion base damage. So I think they carry us through in like a kind of early transition to mid game fight, and then late game, I think we have like Ezreal and Yasuo, who are like probably the two biggest damage, well, some of the biggest damage dealers in the game. I think if anything, like dependent on how the fight starts, because I don't think it's as clear as like we win at 30 minutes and they win at 50 minutes. I think like whoever plays the fight best wins. But I think yeah, it's like anyone's game when it goes into the later stages.
And you're a jungler, Juve, so for the viewers at home, tell me, how would you play out this pathing if you were the Sejuani here? Where you're looking to pressure? What's your goal?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious that like Sedge and Yasuo synergize very well, like just the nature of like auto attack. So if we can punish the Vlad, like that's real cool. Playing through mid gives you like the option to go both sides of.
Oh, I know.
Because I thought he was going to Prey Seeker it, and then that's gone. Yeah, but playing through mid gives you the option to go either top or bot. So yeah, like if I'm Sedge, I guess I'm looking mid of some sorts, especially at level 6.
All right, thank you very much, Juves.
Thanks,
Close call
guys.
there on the junglers.
The
Very
do-si-do.
insightful stuff from the Gravitas coach.
Absolutely. I'm always jealous if they get pep talks as they do.
Yeah,
even
a
if
lot
we
of
don't know
different types.
exactly what they are.
Ooh, Balkan nearly got sandwiched there between Decoy and Praelis. Makes a roam up to the top. This is going to leave Raid a little isolated. Early game has started without a whole lot of shenanigans. The few that we saw kind of on screen really just pass-bys.
Yeah, good little early moves there from Decoy as well. Remember at level 1 he gets the chunk out on FBI, and now at level 2 he comes up to help his jungler. But also very good from Praelis, standing still, full awareness of course of how Rek'Sai's burrow works. Blind as a bat is the answer. Cannot see a thing, uses that echo location, so if you stand perfectly still Jurassic Park style, no one will know you're there. And of course, in that case, it does allow time for someone like Decoy to get that roam up towards the middle lane. And this is something that you want to see if you think back to what did the couch say before the game started. It's how good Praelis and Decoy are at mid-gaming, getting the vision, maybe generating picks. Well, they can do it all game. It's just that when the team needs it the most in mid, they were doing it. So don't be shocked to see more of that in this.
Definitely expect Gravitas to bring their A game here up against Bombers. And, you know, I think it was pretty apparent from what Juves was saying that the team won't necessarily want those super late game fights comparatively. Obviously, it will come down to skill matchup, but they'll be at somewhat of a disadvantage with reliance mostly on Harry and Raid comparatively. Now, there's that knockback you were talking about. So Decoy goes in for the taunt, and Rogue denies it.
It's very hard to play a Galio into the Alistar specifically for those taunt trades. Of course, if you can hit the headbutt, then you're laughing, but not as easy to set as it is done. Sorry, easier said than done. That was not English.
That's also easier done than said, I guess. Harry going in, starts on Ryoma. Little trades back and forth while we wait for that level 6 mark, of course. But it does seem like Gravitas are going to be looking to take a more proactive stance in the early and mid.
And I think they should, but I think they should wait for the big timings. If they find an opportunity mid, take it whenever it's there, right? But it's very hard to find one with a Vladimir who has the blood pool and has flash. But if you can even force flash, call that a win, right? At 6 is when they really start to open up, when they've got a Sejuani that can go in and a Yasuo ult to follow, when they've got a Sion ult and a Q and a Yasuo ult to follow. Like when they have that extra CC they can layer together, then you might actually see some grouping up. You might see some teleports. And I would say a key indicator of their timings that they're looking towards is, did our top laner teleport? You look at Pabu, the answer is no, he didn't teleport. So perhaps it is something that is fresh in the mind of Gravitas that they could look towards those teleport players at level 6.
Now, Bombers do have this matched in some of their spells too. As the knockup comes in for Rogue, this is the play they're looking for onto Decoy, who flashes. So that's a summoner spell burnt just for an appearance by Balkan towards the bottom side. It's Bombers who strike first.
A good flash in the end from Decoy, keeps himself alive. Of course, good pressure still, however, from Bombers on the flip side, going towards bot lane. If you're ever going to trade summoner spells, with Alistar flashing for a Galio is worth it, simply because you retain that Hex flash, as Balkan wants to stop this wave from crashing, but he's not allowed.
He's not allowed. One thing I did want to point out is it's very small, but you start to notice a little bit after watching some of these games. Praelis pulling the Raptor camps away from the entrance of the jungle, making sure that Balkan can't just snipe one of them like he tried to do with the Prey Seeker. I really like that adaptation, that change-up, because he knows that there's vision being placed in his jungle.
Absolutely, you've always got to be vigilant with someone like a Rek'Sai. Of course, what Rek'Sai may not have is awareness of the health of the camp, but may just see the red bleeps here and there as he is hunting towards the second blue buff potential. This is still the first one. It's 650, so... Oh, no, it's blue star. You know what, never mind.
Second blue buff. A lot of vision being invested, though, in the entrances of the jungle by the Bombers team. So they're definitely getting out to a great start at securing vision, gathering more information. That blue buff is secured, and now it's on to a dive to the bot. Maybe, maybe not, just stealing away some camps. Balkan sniffing around, though. He's always looking for an opportunity to make a play.
Rek'Sai is one of the best champions. Hang on, they're scolding each other.
Emo Plague onto Harry. Praelis taps in.
We're out. We're all good.
That's it. Okay, back to your point.
Ryoma retains mid lane prior here as well completely just because of the health trades that they took. Ignite was used, however, so summoner advantage. But back to my completely unnecessary point, it feels so good as Rek'Sai to hit blast cones and scrying orbs. Because you right-click it and all you have to do is unburrow and it instantly procs. It is just the best. That's a complete tangent, but it felt great when I played it.
It's important stuff. Looks like the play is going to get started here. They look for Balkan, who's caught out, isolated from Ryoma, and that's going to be first blood. Praelis claims the final shot all summoners really burnt in that engagement there, but they did get the kill they were looking for.
You would have liked to have seen that on Hayri, I would imagine, to accelerate his build, get the crit up as soon as possible, but at the end of the day, a kill is a kill. And you take that if you're Gravitas, now 1-0 up on the scoreboard. Still looking pretty good for themselves overall. It's been a very calm early game, which does mean, in the scope of things, that Bombers aren't just outright winning the early game, which is something they often do.
That's a fair point. Gravitas really doing what they can to try and make plays early on and at least hold things close to even. But it has been, once again, Praelis and Decoy really at the front of making all of that happen. It was a great point by the Deaths that they hold at the mid-game, but it does seem to be pretty actively held in the early as well. Now it's a fight over Scuttle Crab is going to get won here by the Bombers. Mimic is chased away, though, by Pabu and Praelis.
And a good pressure continuing here from Gravitas through the top side. They have no vision control, but their bodies are tanky enough, they don't mind. And they'll walk towards their opponents and headbutt a wall. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It's
We're
fine.
okay.
Praelis is just like, I meant to do that. It was just for show.
The one
Good
thing
stuff.
that will start to sting on this map, however, Pyra, is the bottom lane. There is lifesteal there for the Lucian, where the Ezreal does not go for the lifesteal option, hasn't even completed the tier. So you have to rush the Sheen if you want to continue and match trades.
Yep.
But that actually does put your build a little bit behind and just gives you that immediate power. And that immediate power is for staying in lane, doing more damage to minions as well with the Sheen procs on Q, being able to trim them much faster. So it stops damage from going onto the turrets. But you can see a CS lead has grown for FBI and may stay.
It may stay, however, the gold could potentially even out regardless because Raid, of course, is rocking the Kleptomancy on the Ezreal. We'll see how far it goes. That is still a pretty significant CS advantage, and he hasn't backed in lane just yet. Checking in with this mid lane, Ryoma is a little bit lower than Hayri, but with the Vladimir, it doesn't often matter. He can usually just drain some blood back for himself with a transfusion or two.
Yeah, and you'll notice that Rogue has been very active around the map, especially in the bottom side. River was hovering mid lane, is now back towards bottom lane. Has still got a window of opportunity to utilize to find that Galio, make a play with the Rek'Sai if they would like. Of course, having the Hex Flash to no summoners for Decoy is a big advantage, and they get the Ignite. So kill threat's there, and you'll notice that Gravitas, while they are playing very much weak side on the bottom half of the map, have been playing under their turret weak side, just trying to clear waves as best they can.
And
Super
they've got vision.
respecting.
They've got vision in the Bombers jungle as well. I've talked a lot about how Bombers have been doing a great job of making sure that the entrances to the river have been warded on the opposite side. Well, Gravitas haven't been slouching on that either. Less ward coverage, but still extant there. And it's been great for them to keep tabs on where Balkan is, and as you see the ping going down, where Rogue is roaming.
They're about to go on him as well.
See. They've got him caught, but Rogue just headbutts Praelis away. He can just kind of deny a lot of these attempts on his life.
Absolutely. Also has the Aftershock and the ultimate, so killing him is going to take a very long time.
He's got a tough hide, that cow.
Both top laners now don't have teleports as well. They've gone back to their lanes.
Pabu is waiting here. Spotted by Balkan.
Looks like Scuttle is just the name of the game. They know that Balkan wasn't doing it, but very patient is the jungler of Bombers. Waits for him to leave, retreat back to his turret, and now actually starts off the Herald.
Yeah, it's going to be soloed at the moment, and there's really no response available from the Gravitas side unless Pabu roams down. And it looks like he's just going to be checking for the brush, but Balkan is spooked, and this is going to reset aggro on the Herald.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because they didn't know where Praelis is, but there's wards on the entrances to the river, so I thought that surely they would.
Balkan wraps
So
around
respect,
again.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's a slow start.
Still making money. You know, that cannon, the longer this laning phase is protracted, the more money they will make. Good ultimate, though, from Raid on the opposite side.
True Shot does hit quite a lot of damage. and
He's dead.
Meanwhile, there, man hit on to Pabu up top, so that equalizes the kill score, and Bombers back in the gold lead.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, of course, we don't get to see how the kill happened, but we knew the Rek'Sai was topside. Pabu knew, surely, that Rek'Sai was having a sniff on the top side of the map, but they didn't see him. So it's very well skirted vision there from Balkan overall, and didn't even have his flash, but they get the kill. It was Mimic that used his.
Ooh, looks like they combo at the last second end. Ryoma did not know what hit him. Praelis sinks that Ice Bola.
Just comes flying in from the side. Of course, we'll see how this happens in top lane.
Flying in.
Blocks the Pabu ultimate as well. Blocks the Scion ultimate. So very well done from Mimic for the setup. And of course, lots of damage comes out of a Rek'Sai to hit that home.
So two things that just happened in the last few minutes now equate to big carries on both teams getting a much needed kill. The Yasuo for Hayri and Mimic on the Kennen And that's going to start moving things forward. You can see it's allowed some item buys to come in. Static Shiv completed for Harry. And on Mimic's side, he has the Proto Belt.
And it's always important to do a stopwatch counter. You know, we're past the 10-minute mark, so either you had it in runes or you're starting to purchase them now. Kennen and Vladimir both have stopwatches and both have Proto Belts. If they are to look for a team fight, now is a brilliant timing to do so, just from the raw damage that they have. But we'll have to hold that as Bot's fighting.
Raid takes a lot of damage from FBI, unleashes a full combo on him, as well as the Blade of the Ruin King pop. So that's going to zone the Ezreal back for a little bit. Decoy's going to have to frontline this. You can see Volkan starting to sniff through. Plating is about to fall, but FBI will pick up that extra 160 gold.
And gets it solo, the cheeky devil as well. Rogue doesn't get into the area. Balkan also going to start up the Mountain Dragon.
This is pinged.
Fights could be on here. We mentioned how strong it looks like Bombers are. They've used both their Proto Belts. Cannon has no flash as well.
Praelis isn't coming in for this, so this is going to be seeded over.
Yeah.
Mountain Dragon given away to Bombers. That could come in handy once Baron becomes a factor in this game, for sure.
You have to think about why would you not fight that if you were Gravitas. One is that they just weren't aware it was being done. When an objective is being soloed, it's harder to detect. You know, the jungler can just be doing his own camps off the map as mid.
There's the Hemo Plague onto Harry. Ryoma does dodge out. That's a lot of damage onto the Yasuo, trying to get through, and he's burning the flash away. Ryoma flashes forward and transfuses for the last of his health bar.
That was close from Hayri.
Counts as a single kill, technically.
That was definitely close from Hayri, however, dodging around. He needed to hold that first tornado. The second it missed, it looked like he was just going to have to retreat. And Balkan with the kill advantage, and with Rogue right there to hover, just starts off the Rift Herald. It seems like Gravitas want to answer.
Looks like they do, but Bombers want to take the fight after all. It's a 2-on-3 right now with Mimic coming through. Praelis is going to be walking away, and so is Pabu. Herald still aggroed, and it looks like Ryoma's coming in here as well. No help is coming from the Gravitas side. A little slow
Galio's
move
almost
from
here.
Decoy, so will this be a full reset here? It's going to go back into the pit, but the health bar hasn't gone up just yet. And this is a very long and extended fight. It looks like they're going for it. There's the Tauntaun. Mimic a little bit low. Rather, it's Rogue that's taking the damage right now as the teleport comes through. Decoy flashing away. Raid with the True Shot Barrage is dodged out, and FBI takes Praelis out on the flash play. Now Bombers still going, but the Rift Herald is resetting in this fight. And Gravitas are not giving up. They may have lost members, but they're still trying to fight this one.
Yasuo does still have the ultimate, but all of the setup has been taken away. It requires something special from Pabu somehow with a charged up spell. But what they do have is a lot of tankiness and a lot of time and staying power in the river. So they deter the Bombers. They push them away from the objective, but they have to sacrifice their jungler. A lot of spells for the cause.
Ooh, I don't think Harry expected that, but he does get the last breath out, and there's the pull for Ryoma. Decoy can't quite get the taunt off. We swap back for some reason to Pabu, but nobody dies mid lane. That was close.
It was the stopwatch by Ryoma that keeps him alive as well. The second he went into pool, you just expect him to die. The Ignite was ticking, but he's able to survive. Does very well for himself at the end. It was a very clutch fight, however, between most members. And we're going to see more and more high-intensity action like that as well when you consider the champions that these guys are playing. Yasuo has to outplay people. Vladimir requires good mechanics all the time. And Illusion and Ezreal with skill shots and dashing everywhere, this game will be exciting.
It will. Now let's take stock of where we're at. In the aftermath of that extended fight, no one picks up the Rift Herald, and we have a swap up to the lanes. Top side now receives the duo laners, and we're in a full Australia situation.
Definitely are. You know, I found that watching a lot of Yasuo's, the builds that they all seem to be preferring is the Sterix Gauge after the Static Shift.
A little bit of extra sustainability?
Yeah. But there are times and there are places where you probably want to go towards the Phantom Dancer. It has the Sterix passive.
Oh dear. Decoy's caught. He is in a world of hurt right now, and I don't think he's going to be able to stop this anytime soon. Full channel culling comes through, and not respecting the positioning of the Bombers. Balkan continues to be anywhere and everywhere on this map as well to make the numbers advantage. Meanwhile, Harry looks to go in. Last breath onto the Yasuo once again. Hemo Plague is on. Harry walking away gets another knockup, and he does the damage, but he's just getting turned on too heavily, and Ryoma completely outplays him.
Yeah, it really feels like Harry he didn't have his Conqueror stacked up, I don't think, when the fight started, and the damage just felt definitely a little bit lacking. Ryoma's just able to stand and deliver, and he doesn't even have any armor by any means. At the same time, on the top side of the map, Bomber's feeling so confident that FBI almost wanted to hold his culling and just let his team get the kill, but throws it just in case at the end. Now they get the Herald, and this is just that moment. This is that point in the game where Gravitas, on an individual level, are being caught out by the Bombers, who just outplay them.
Massively. And this is 1, 2, 3 picking up everything that they could want. It all started with Ryoma getting the outplay onto Harry and removing from the map. Then Tower falls in top at the same time that the Herald comes down, so all of that work Gravitas do to deter Bombers pushing and gaining advantages in this mid-game comes undone in one fell stroke.
And that's always the risk, you know, when you play against the Bombers, you know full well that there comes a time where they just are such good players, you know, superstars across the board, they'll be able to win a team fight like that, or they'll get a solo kill in lane. And what is weird about it at the end is that it feels like Gravitas were being the aggressors in some of these situations, especially in mid lane. Harry hunting for that kill, going forwards, ulting immediately. You know, he wants that fight, and then he loses it.
Yeah. And they just don't seem to have the same level of damage. You look at some of the items that are completed, and you know, if we can cycle over to the gold for just a second to take a look at where all of that power is kind of lying at the moment. It's not a massive gold lead by any means, but the top lane is where a lot of it's being made up, and that's Mimic. That's what you always want. Now the fight is going to be on. This is a good turn here for Gravitas. Big. They get a shutdown onto FBI and Rogue. Mimic is there way too late, and they will take the tower here in mid. Excellent collapse by Gravitas.
They forced the mid game themselves. You can see the Vladimir on the flank, however, Mimic's still here.
Yeah, they have to turn away from the tower. Praelis is a little bit too low. Balkan coming through, and let's see if they can get the kill. Praelis is going gold, and here comes the Hero's entrance. The pool is in. Balkan takes down Harry in the back. The second wind from Bombers is massive right now, and that's the damage dealers pretty much out of there. All said and done, the Rift Herald getting popped here. Bombers might yet win the engagement.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they will. They get a charge off in the middle lane as well. They just have so much damage.
Hold on a second. Ryoma, he has to pull away. However, this is still pretty massive. The charge will come through. Raid has not backed away, so that means the extra charge on the Rift Herald, as it was getting close to the 20-minute mark, doesn't take the tower, but Bombers...
No towers drop.
They still pull something out of nothing there.
They definitely do, and that's the thing. You know, you get a single kill onto one of their carries. They've got 3 more. They've just got so much damage across the team composition, and it's good from Gravitas, however. They force in the mid-game. They get the Yasuo combo with a Scion ultimate this time. Sejuani sets it up. That's what you want. It's the follow-up after that point where you're like, oh no, like Bombers are still here and they're still really dangerous.
And we're back to the live. It looks like Rogue getting chased down by Praelis. He flashes forward to finish that one, but he's pretty low in this, and he does get the kill off. FBI, though, rather is comboed on from Raid and Decoy tagging out. Still manages to get him, and that's a 1v3. And Decoy still dies.
Hey, to be fair, it was a 2v3. They
and
put a lot of their effort
again
towards Rogue as well.
Yeah, it's a tag team. That's fair, but all the same, I do think it was great to see FBI manage to get a kill out of that.
Hey, I mean, at the end of this, it's good from FBI, and I will credit him for getting those kills. Good mechanical play at the end, but Gravitas are still trading. They're still getting the kills themselves, and they are not going down without a fight. And they're coming at Bombers swinging, and I really like to see that from them. Win or lose, this game has been very exciting to watch from them in good ways, very proactive,
yes,
making steps.
They have been doing as much as they can to really force Bombers onto the back foot. The crucial step, well, this is the start of it all. It actually was FBI getting the jump onto Decoy and taking
Rogue
the tower down.
Also headbutt pulverized under a turret.
That he
so
did.
He takes the aggro from a taunt on Galio, which you would expect. Decoy, of course, coming through. Will sacrifice his life through the good work of FBI. But Raid now from that kill, 2-0-2, has not died yet on Summoner's Rift and is going to become a big force to be reckoned with on this Ezreal.
I think that's a big aspect of it. On the other hand, we want to see Harry picking up more kills. He's kind of had a bit of a roughie once or twice trying to get the outplay solo onto Ryoma, who has had his number. Baron's now spawned on the Rift. Bombers have 2 Mountain Dragons, so they will do this at an accelerated pace, but Bombers don't seem to be like a team that will take unnecessary risks like starting a Baron this early unless they feel supremely confident in it.
Oh, that hit.
They did get the hit onto Balkan. He's out of this fight, but they will not chase.
I thought he was going to E over the wall. Thank God. Raid keeps his life intact. They good chunk damage, however. And you bring up the Baron. Well, the thing about this Baron is Alistar has to tank it, basically, or the Vladimir has to be there. Like, you have to put multiple members in that can sustain their way through to look at it if you're Bombers. What they do, however, is the Baron quite quickly. When you look at a Rek'Sai and a Lucian damage, it's entirely possible they rush that down. Whereas Gravitas, if they ever get the tempo, they ever get the control, and they hit the Baron to try and bait Bombers in, they don't lose any health. They are so tanky, they can sit there forever and just tank it up until Bombers come to them if they need. If the shoe's on the Gravitas foot, then actually I think they're in a pretty good position around Baron baits, whereas Bombers will be looking for better vision control and immediate turns.
That's true. Just making sure We check in with everything we can. Gold game has been in favor of Bombers for a while now, but it's at about 4,000. That is significant, but we have seen Bombers have much more significant margins in a lot of their games where they've been fairly dominant here in the OPL. Gravitas trying to keep it as close as they can.
So much of it is through the top lane cannon. Now,
Yeah, it's
Cryptomancy is most likely going to be a very big part of that lead as well that they've started to build. Junglers, of course, having a difference, as do mid laners, but, you know, some of those come down to individual choices, and if Gravitas chose not to take the 1v1 skirmish in mid, it'd be a lot closer. And yeah, you know, at the end of the day, it's a choice they made, so you can't blame them for it.
And you look at who has the bounties, right? And that's kind of what you want to keep your eyes on right now. Mimic doesn't have one. It's Ryoma who has a 750 gold bounty, so he's clearly going to be a high priority target for Gravitas in these fights.
So hard to kill, though.
That's part of the problem.
Zonya's done. He's a Vladimir with Zonya.
Proto
Has
belt.
the flash.
Yeah.
Good chunk.
Shot Barrage Rogue taking a little low in this. Solo pushing on the top side, though, is Ryoma right now. He can rejoin the team pretty easily. Bottom lane is sort of locked in this continuous push and pull of the waves, with towers still standing.
That's the name of the game here, though, for Gravitas. Is put the Ezreal in mid, plant him down, poke some people with the AP build that he's got, and keep stacking the tier. Yasuo hits it home with the hard engage afterwards, ideally. You know, hit that combo with the Scion or with the Sejuani, and then they'll be laughing. Inside of Bombers, you still want those flanks. You still need those flanks, and if you are going to engage, I'd be looking at Rogue once again, and he has the flash, so the tools are there.
Gravitas have definitely shown a propensity to going for those big 1-2-3 punches, and we've seen a lot of compositions that have trended on the wombo combo side of things for sure. This is definitely one that has a few more options, but it's such a big beefy front line, they are pretty heavily reliant on the likes of Raid.
There's a teleport from Mimic right now. They're looking towards the Yasuo and the Sejuani. It's a big
collapse on him.
numbers
This is going to be a lot of question marks coming out from
Teleports
the
in
Gravitas
response.
lineup. They're going to answer this one. Gravitas look to take the fight. However, will the rest of the team make it there in time? Pabu and the crew are trying to collapse onto Mimic and to Balkan. Will they get there in time? The hero's entrance, and it looks like Mimic will fall down, but it's into a stasis. He goes for just a second, falling down. Harry as well, and it's the rest of Bombers coming to the rescue and forcing the retreat path from the Gravitas boys. Raid and Pabu on the opposite side are going to have to wave goodbye to their teammates.
Yeah, now Raid has to go huge in this fight. Oh, they've actually got a big flank. Oh, no.
No, they've got him in the backline. Balkan flashed Ryoma, and there they go, the shutdown. And it's going to only be Pabu left in. Bombers will clean house. That's the ace, and that should be the Baron.
And most likely will be Baron. You know, Gravitas, you can't fault Raid and Pabu for stepping up again. They wanted to chunk them. They wanted to prevent them from going to the Baron with such a big numbers disadvantage, but then they paid the price for it. Balkan, massive flank on that Rex side. Not something you would expect to see so easily achieved. And no vision able to save Gravitas on that push forwards. And there you go, Baron just freely given over to Bombers with a teamfight victory. And they've got 2 Mountain Dragons. So this could just result in the game almost from the levels of Snowball. And you'll see the fight again here. If that Scion ult hits, it's a different landscape. But because they sidestep it so easily, Yasuo doesn't get a free ult. And as a result, doesn't get a free position reversing. And that actually is what changes the space of this fight completely, where Bombers just get the kills. They take down one of the 2 damage dealers incredibly fast. And then you watch the rest of this. Raid, I respect that he steps up, but he's just caught out from a tunnel that was already there.
Not much you can do at that point if you are Raid. They really didn't have any extra damage left, and you could see the rest was just cleaning up onto Pabu. And this is Bombers just having a superior fight here. They will take down a turret starting off here. Mimic even picked up that Baron buff thanks to the fact that he respawned before it had been finished off. Now he will be chased down by Raid and Pabu, but he's a very zoomy boy. Let's see if he can get out in time. That's another cue. True shot barrage. He dodges it. Mimic. And they really want to keep the chase going here, but is this wise right now? They have a lot of damage. Headbutting. Rogue, nowhere for him to go. They will take him down. Meanwhile, we shift over to the other side of the map as Gravitas, all of a sudden, life infused in this team.
They just picked a bush, and it works. They find Mimic. He overstays for the turret. That was his goal. And Gravitas almost get the punish. If it wasn't for his fancy footwork, for his ability to find something out of nothing, and that includes terrain, somehow dodging that Ezreal ultimate. That would have been 2 kills perhaps given over.
All that time, though, all that time they spent chasing him and the Alistair down means that FBI could pick up a tower 2nd tier mid with the Dragon being traded over to Gravitas. It's just a Mountain Drake. That does mean that Bombers continue to grow this gold lead.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the risk. And that's what you do when a team has Baron. You don't want to team fight them. You pick an area on the map and you say, this is where we draw the line. If they step past this point, we punish. And they just found Mimic a little bit too far forwards. But of course, you know what the risk is there. And a double Mountain Dragon team will take those turrets and trade very fast. And so they're able to do so quite easily. Now, 1,000 bounty up for Ryoma as well on that Vladimir.
That's pretty big.
He is a big boy. He may even go towards the Medjais, knowing
he's got full stacks on
how
Dark
far
Seal.
ahead he is.
It's possible, indeed. Balkan and Mimic going to use both their numbers here to try and push on to the last inner tower. The rest of Bombers not too far behind. Gravitas may give this away, but they are pinging on for a reaction.
Their composition is sculpted to engage. They want to go forwards. They want to throw that Sejuani ultimate. And that's what they're going to have to keep hunting towards. Raid doesn't have the time now with the urgency. They start to feel to chunk people out with the Ezreal, unless he hits the WQ combo. That could be the signal, however, and it is a 5v5 on the bottom side of the map. I feel like this is exactly what Gravitas want positioning-wise.
Pabu's not here, though, and that means that Bombers are going to recognize superior numbers to dive behind the turret, and Ryoma goes, and they scare them all away. He heals all that damage right back up. It's enough to take the turret before Pabu can get back. Gravitas are going to have to pull the trigger at some point if they want to stop their base from falling to pieces.
Yeah, Ryoma uses the ultimate to push them back. Pabu
headbutts the wall. Looking for Ryoma.
He's not a Drift King this time. Very hard to drift that area, I will say. If he did it, that would have been miraculous.
Hey, he's got a pretty big old hitbox.
Nunu can do it.
Snowball is a little different than the uncontrollable charge, though.
Yes. You don't scream cowards with one of them.
It's true. Is that what he screams? I just thought he was yelling.
I think he screams cowards.
I thought he just goes, "Wah!" Today I learned. Big wave pushing top for Gravitas. That's the saving grace right now, Rusty.
And Flash is almost available for Raid and for Pabu after their last big fight that they lost towards the Baron on that side of the map. So
that is true.
That will
It's
help
about to
them a
come
lot.
up from Mimic as well.
When you look at the landscape of a team fight, you definitely want to have those summoners. Mimic in particular, like you mentioned, needs the Flash. Otherwise, he has to somehow get a big flank off with the teleport. But Flash is what gets you into the middle of the carries, because it is the instant spell with your ultimate, whereas the Lightning Rush is more slow and gives them time to react.
Big Lightning Rush. They're going to go in for the Slicing Maelstrom as well. Balkan's there.
Has no
Pabu.
ult.
He realizes he's a dead man, so he just goes to finish off the tower anyways. No ultimate available. Question is, what do Gravitas do now that they have a 4v3 in the middle? Will they try and take a fight? They don't. They just ping onto the Baron pit, which is still 1 minute and 15 away from spawning.
And that is a mistake from Pabu, I think it's safe to say. You know, the turret does die and he gets what he's after, but when you look at the state of the map, he is a risky place, and perhaps it's just an assumption that they're not going to come and get me. I'm so far away from the Baron, which is up in a minute, so they're probably just getting vision over there. I've got a free turret. And then the one time you don't think they'll be there, it's the first thing they do. They come and kill you. So it may be a bit of disrespect, maybe just assumptions. At the end of the day, when you're playing against Bombers, the two Koreans love to work together. So don't give them that opportunity.
Once again, I find it interesting that the kills tend to be going Balkan's way as well. I don't think Mimic has had a single bounty on his head this game. Still a very potent threat. Every time we see him on this Kennen, spells trouble for everybody on the other team. Doing a little bit of a two-step there. Trying to clear out their own jungle. There's still a couple of wards from the Bombers. So if Gravitas do opt to fight inside one of these contested areas, they could find themselves getting flanked very easily. And that is just such a signature Bombers play.
Raid's build feels bad, man. He's gone for the third item AP and then went for a Hex Drinker.
Drinker.
And I don't blame him. He needs a Hex Drinker.
It does feel bad, though.
But maybe that last item is a Zhonya's and then he sells the Hex Drinker and goes AP. Perhaps that's his solution. We'll see if it gets to that point, of course.
Well, they could use a little extra AP, right? I mean, for the most part, their damage dealing
Well, he is
all
the
in
AP champion, right? I'm not saying that going for the tiered item as his third for Archangel is bad. It's just it feels bad that you have to go Hex Drinker after.
You know what else feels bad right now? The fact that Gravitas losing out to this two-man Baron start, while Ryoma and Rogue are holding the line here. Gravitas have to make something out of nothing. Ryoma is going to claim a kill onto Harry, and the rest of Bombers cleaning up this fight, flying high, and Gravitas completely routed back to the opposite side of the map.
and that's going to be the push in here for the Bombers for the win.
Keep those minions, Rogue. Oh, they got one. They've got one melee minion. They'll probably just push forwards and bodyguard for it. That is the MVP running with them, the 6-man squad of Bombers. No one dies. They gain a friend. The game will most likely end here for them. And a big team fight once again comes out of them. No one can stop the Bombers right now. They're on an absolute tear.
They certainly are absolutely lossless, minus the one game against the Chiefs, and they will complete the second round robin 7-0, just shy of 33 minutes. Bombers take the win.
And a slower style this time from them as well. Not just win lane, win game. They play a bit more cautiously. They respect their opponents, and Gravitas were making some plays. They were keeping tabs on them at times, and there were moments where like maybe they're just trading super well across the map, but then Bombers became Bombers. And that's always going to be the concern, right? They're just good enough players. They get the solo kill effectively in the middle lane as well. And things start to go a little bit haywire with the advantage that Ryoma got. The map felt like it was so much harder to do anything on with the kills that Ryoma got in mid.
And it does seem like every game that we watch Bombers, we see a different aspect of how good those players are. There's always somebody that's stepping up, maybe a couple different players. Sometimes it's just the way that they team fight. But it's great that you highlighted Ryoma there, because yesterday, he might as well have not been in the game. He was just in a holding pattern, and it was perfectly fine. He was still getting kills. He was still doing things, but it didn't really matter. This game, he gets solo kills onto Harry, who is the biggest threat on the Gravitas lineup with the Yasuo, maybe minus Raid, and all of a sudden he becomes the target priority. So everybody on this Bombers lineup really does have carry potential, and, you know, Rogue is always running around the map to make sure that they're set up for them.
And there's a lot of trust between them as well. They know that if one of them falls down, the other one will pick them up and carry in that game if necessary. And of course, at this stage, no one really falls down. It's just someone stepping up more than the other. They're competing to be the biggest carry on the same team. That's how dominant the Bombers feel right now.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody can challenge them. But let's go over to the couch to see what they think of that 33-minute win.
Apparently no one can challenge them. That's what...
Correct.
That seems to be the general assumption.
When you only have one loss in 14 games of League of Legends, you are nigh unchallengeable.
We were talking about the 0-10 second round robin, when our Bombers have definitely completed the 7 out of 0, so they've won every single game. I mean, they've lost literally one, so of course, right? But like they just look very good.
And this was literally like, when I think about how like Gravitas play the game, like this was really like a Gravitas game, because I was so impressed with like the early game that they were able to put together. I thought the Praless's early pathing on Sejuani to be able to avoid a Rek'Sai and actually maintain even farm for the first, 10 camps of the game. They were 40 CS to 40 CS, like absolutely neutral. Bottom lane, they're playing a fairly passive scaling lane. Galio has a lot more map threat. So, was able to get out of the lane in Decoy and help out the rest of his team. That's what I'm talking about. Decoy, like such a good facilitator, not only for Raid, but for the whole of the map for Gravitas. And then just a couple of mid-game mistakes, after that 13, 14-minute mark that just allowed Ryoma to scale it up, gave Mimic a couple of free summoner spells, and then they just torched the map. But, one or two minor tweaks to a young side, and I think that is a completely different game.
Because I think this was like a game of inches in the little things are constantly happening. It's not from the Bombers' side, right? They're punishing the little mistakes that a lot of teams are giving them. So it's like picking on Parbu in the side lane on the Sion. You get a cheeky kill. That gives Mimic a bunch of priority for the next minute and a half to set up Baron. It's like, it's very small things, because the game didn't just explode out of nowhere, right? You were saying the early game was very stable. Then there was that top team fight, like just kind of above blue side blue buff, where like Ezreal wasn't in the fight, but it was incredibly close. Raze is looking for the cleanup to deny the Baron, but then Balkan, cheeky little tunnel over the wall, gets around behind him.
Great play.
And yeah, like fantastic. Like it's the cheeky stuff that matters, but Bombers are looking like, we kind of hit on it yesterday, but they're not like an outlandish team. It's just the slow build every single time. This wasn't an Ezreal time Kent from the bottom lane. It is an aggressive matchup, the Lucian, the Alistar, which honestly, like from an outsider's perspective, that's very nice to see FBI to have that sort of freedom. He's a very cool player to watch, but they don't make big plays until it's like 30 minutes into the game where, like, yes, they've set up everything. They get the priority, then they get the flank wards, and then Mimic gets one button and the game is over.
Because you have to think, right? And, like, I gave a lot of credit to Gravitas, and I think they did play well, but Bombers right now look like they have the 5 best players in every single role. So it looks like Mimic is the best top lane. It looks like Balkan's the best jungler. Like, you can just go down, like, bang, 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 bang. And I think that if that is your team, and you're picking team fight comps, Vladimir Kennan, like that's a team fight comp, you just need everyone on your team to play like a 6 or a 7. Like as long as you, like if your team is a better team fighting
not a
team,
hard comp to yeah.
Like if it's an easy comp to play and you've got good players, like you just let the game go at whatever pace it goes. You know, you get a couple of early game kills. Maybe we team fight at 15 minutes. You don't. Maybe we team fight at 27 minutes and take a Baron and end the game. Like they just let the game develop in the way that they never feel like they're on the clock. They never feel like they're rushed. Even when you have a lead, it's like, if we don't finish this game with this lead, we're going to be like destroyed in 15, 20 minutes. And I just really respect that that's the way they're doing it. And it's like the do your job that a lot of sports teams like is really coming through, I feel, in the way that the Bombers are currently setting up for success.
Because it's super interesting, like old school OPL fans that have been around since 2014, that was the old like pre-my era Chiefs. That was like immunity Chiefs when Rady was the AD carry.
It was just on a bomb.
And like he would just like, they just sit there and it's like Bombers don't care what you do in the game. And like immunity back then, they didn't either. They would just let you do whatever, then they would punish your mistakes, and then they would win the game. And they're just like, yeah, we'll win the war of attrition. We'll just sit back, and that's why it's scary, because like you've seen teams throw heavy aggression at Bombers early. You've seen teams just give Bombers freedom, and then they just slap you with it. So it's the dynamic ability that is impressive.
It's like it's Bombers Rift, and you're just playing on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the game starts, and you just hit the timer button. And it's like, okay, cool. How long until like FBI or Radier back in the day gets 6 items? Because you didn't want to play against it. And I still don't think you want to play against it. And it wasn't like the rest of the immunity lineup, Swiffer, Spook, Swiper, Rosie even at times weren't dangerous players. Like they still would play the rest of the game, but it was like, okay, cool. Like we have this insurance policy like that is going to take care of us. If all else fails, you still have to beat Derek Trang with 6 items. And like at the moment, we haven't even seen Victor Huang with 6 items. We haven't seen FBI with it, but I guarantee in a best of 5, Vic or FBI will get a game where he is on something like the Vayne or the Ezreal, both like just hard scaling 80 carries, and someone will take them late, and you know maybe they'll throw an Nivea comp into them, or maybe the Chiefs will throw a Rise 1-3-1 split push comp into them, and just try and pull them everywhere on the map, and you will have to play against it. And the scary thing is we haven't even seen that yet. They're just kicking the crap out of everyone without even doing that.
They are kicking the crap out of everyone, but there are more teams in the OPL that we haven't spoken about. Let's talk about. And I mean, talk about a smooth segue. Let's talk about the team that just got the crap kicked out of them. Sorry. We're talking about Gravitas for a mid-split review. How do we feel like Gravitas are